Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my dear art lovers. I'm so happy to be back with you, and I'm happy to talk to you about one simple thing which is not that very simple, and this thing is called drawing, or disegno in Italian, or graphis in Latin. Why I am employing those terms? Because through all the times people were thinking about drawing. What is it? Why it is so? And how to deal with this. I'm going to bring to your attention a few definitions or few explanations rather about this phenomena that we call drawing. But before that, I want to tell you that the best definition I can remember was done for me by small modest museum of drawing in Skopje, Macedonia, when they were emailing their artists the invitation to apply for their annual competition. They wrote, drawing is everything. Your line that you make with your pencil, the line that you make with the twig in the sun, in the sand, the line, the trail which is left by the receding water after peak tide of the ocean is getting smaller. The line in the sky that airplane leaves when it runs through the sky, if it is a reactive engine running it. So everything. Okay, that's fine. I love drawing, and there's so much of it, so much of the harmonious things in the field of drawing. An ugly thing, and uplifting thing, and desperate thing, and beautiful thing. So I've decided that we would make a light fly through the whole treasury of art, just following my own admiration to this huge, borderless universe of human creativity. But before we do that, and while we are looking at this drawing that you absolutely, I'm sure, can recognize as a preliminary sketch created by great Michelangelo for his great piece. I will show you the next page, and then I jump right back because I want to talk to you a little bit before we go. You see? Can you see it? Can you see the drawing that we have just seen? Can you see how it was used for the painting? And here, and look at this, how that I cannot dare call it sketch. It's a beautiful drawing done, created by great Michelangelo, how it is developed. So let's get back to the first page, because I'm going to read you few definitions of the drawing, or of the implication of drawing or application of drawing onto the different activities of humans. Francesco Petrarca, great one of from the 14th century poet and philosopher and thinker, wrote that in one of his great major works that graphis, drawing in English, is the one common source of sculpture and painting. And what was accepted within the school of Renaissance thinkers was that the drawing is the principle underlying the arts of painting, sculpture, architecture, design, and of course, in the art of alphabet and written letter. We are going to touch all of these things and beyond. But before that, I want to bring to your attention one more very interesting to my mind a couple more very useful for our journey definitions or explanations on drawing. One, drawing is the imaginative and intellectual end of the process which justifies both academic practice and academic hierarchy of the genres. Now pay attention of that hierarchy word, because the order, the understanding of order, the orderly qualities of drawing, respected by many artists and philosophers. For example, that was the Platonic school of thought, which explains the colorito, which is painting, this way. It depicts the momentary effects of light, shade, color, with their immediate appeal to our senses. At the same time, this diseño, which is drawing, as we know already, reveals the permanent, invariable qualities of matter. Volume forward, hidden order, and it makes a greater appeal to the intellect. I love the approach that both sides, no, two of many sides of our human beings are getting engaged in visual arts. Today we are touching drawing more than painting or colorito, but you will see very soon how unbreakable the connection between this and that, and the thought of great Leonardo that in painting, and he was a good draftsman as well, as you will see it if you do not recall his creations right away. One can find more philosophical understanding of the universe than in any science, and Leonardo was a great scientist as well. Okay, now when we enjoyed enough looking at this drawing, let's go to our next page, which is some pictures created by Michelangelo. This is our introduction part. Later you will see more drawings, more sketches, more even paintings if they are relevant to our topics, created by the same great artists. But this page shows you the connection between drawing, as we saw it, and the painting that we all know by heart. I think that those who are listening to that presentation can almost draw or depict that image with their closed eyes. It is just the iconic image of painting, drawing, greatness, philosophy, everything. And Michelangelo is one of my favorite drawers, that I have to admit. I'm going to be very honest with you through that presentation because I cannot hide it anyway, so why should I? All right, now we touched the painting and importance of drawing in painting. Now we are looking at the other iconic image of visual art, Sculpture of Thinker by great Auguste Rodin. See, there are 3 photographs of the same sculpture, so you can see the sculpture from all the sides. And I've depicted 2 drawings signed by the artist. I especially tried to make sure that these are authentic sketches, because there are many artists who, while they're studying their art at schools or by themselves, they are copying. They are copying the paintings and drawing, especially drawings by the great artists. Those are Rodin's. And Rodin is a great drawer himself, and I will show you his drawings and sketches later within the introduction part of our relatively big presentation that will have possibly second part too, at least. We are just trying our waters of the ocean of drawing. Now let's see what we have next. All right, next we are looking at the infamous images of the dome in Florence, projected, designed, and created by great Filippo Brunelleschi. Look at it. I will not rush you because just seeing that gives you such a pleasure. And please look at this image. Nothing of this kind would be even possible if great Brunelleschi didn't create one of those drawings. And talking about drawings, here we can see some technical approaches that drawing employs. Maybe within our intro part, it is good just to name few of the techniques and the tools which are used by artists who are using drawing as the important part of their art portfolio or their art development. Of course, it is line and hatching and shading and washes and all of the above, and the tools that they're using from the beginning of times, that we will see the beginning of times, I promise you. From the beginning of times, it can be a sharpened piece of rock, which is called stone knife, and stylus, and quill, and charcoal, and chalk, and pen and brush, and crayons, Conte and sepia and others. And I've almost forgotten to name my favorite tool, pencil. I love pencil. I love graphite pencil. Many artists do and did. And I'm so happy to feel myself in a very good company. Let's go to the next page. Yeah. Now we see the examples of illustration, because in the art of illustration, drawing, design, graphics is used very, very widely. And you see here absolutely different examples of that. Sandro Botticelli created his famous, glorious images for the Divine Comedy, and we did have a chance to see them. We did have the presentation about the whole bunch of illustrations created by the Divine Comedy by many, many artists, starting from Sandro Botticelli through the contemporary art, through the comics, believe it or not. But that was done, and now we are just depicting a picture from our own portfolio. Then, of course, Leonardo's man. With his writings, you see there are his own writings explaining the meaning of that man. The people are still using that as a tool of the measuring proportions of the human body. It is about that what great Leonardo did. And if you remember well, that symbol was for many, many years the symbol of Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Now they changed their logo. And I do regret it, as many others, but they did what they did, but Leonardo's man is still with us. Now look at this image. Uh, Let me pull that one a little bit lower so I can see it and you can see it. This is Salvatore Dali's illustration to the Divine Comedy. What he did, first he did the drawings. This is the one. And then they were developed into lithographs, so they can be produced in huge circulations and bigger circulations. Because drawing, by its nature, is a unique, original piece. One, only one, always only one, because it's done by human hand. That human hand that grabs the tool, whatever this tool is, quill or stylus or brush or piece of chalk, and then that human hand created the drawing. And then this drawing starts its life. It may be reproduced, it may be developed into some other technique, but however, everything starts from human hand creating the drawing. I have to tell you that recently I've experienced I have the experience of making drawing using the computer mouse. Honestly, honest to God, I did it. Not that I mastered that, but I tried how it works. Again, the pencil is my favorite tool. Now let's look at the illustration created by Marc Chagall for the book of his beloved Bella Chagall. When they escaped France during the World War II and spent some years in the United States, Bella published this book of her memories. And this is a very lovely book if you had the chance to read it. If you didn't, just I recommend it highly. And this book has a great number of Marc Chagall's illustrations. This is one of them. And I couldn't, of course, escape my want to present in that introduction part of our presentation Gory's drawings. See? Everyone who watches television knows his drawings for mysteries. So I picked up one. And then he illustrated, he actually created and illustrated this book. So I picked up one of the illustrations. Well, I can recite it. On Fridays, Ambus played the flute, and the bird now joined him on the lute. Gory is great, I love him. All right, let's go further. Okay, now we are getting into the use of drawing in creating fine art. This is the pencil drawing by Rembrandt. It is one of his self-portraits, one of his many, many self-portraits. Many of them are done in etching, but this one is pencil drawing. Maybe later he would develop the image in etching technique using that drawing. This is Daumier's drawing, sketch for his lithograph, because he did a lot of lithograph. I'm going to present you the artist who granted us with the great drawings created during his very, very short life, and not only drawings, paintings as well. Egon Schiele, who is considered as one of the most talented artists in the world. I read in one book written by my friend artist, he is artist and writer, that once Schiele, who was friends with Klimt, though Klimt was older than him, Once Egon Schiele, God bless his soul, approached Klimt with the question, "Am I talented?" And Klimt says, "Even too much." Can you imagine that? Carrying the huge talent and carrying through his troubled life, and he managed to leave for us the drawings of the quality which is beyond the compliments. I wanted you to see it. And in this little drawing, Egon Schiele used many techniques that we mentioned: line and shading, and I think that he used brush as well, right there. I think in his time, it wasn't possible to use markers, though they should be now listed in the list of the tools for drawings. But because they didn't have markers in those times, but it looks like one of his tools made the traces very similar to the ones that markers that we're using for many things, including drawings, could produce. However, it is a beautiful image. Enjoy it. Another one is created by an American artist, Leonard Baskin, who most of his works are done as drawings, and he used the brush. And I have to tell you that it is so enjoyable when your brush follows your mind and the control of your hand and creates the images of free expression, like that bird. We will see Baskin's pictures a little bit later, because he's created, unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. He left this world in the beginning of this millennium. But he created a lot of beautiful, beautiful works, and I am fortunate that I'll be able to show you some. That one is the example of the use of just graphite pencil. Graphite pencil, still life. Maybe we could see, though it is done by the young artist, the artist who created it when he was a young artist, Nikolai Cherny, whose presentation we experienced already. But I think that the influence of Morandi's drawings and paintings can be read here, and I'll show you Morandi in our second part, I think, when it is created. And the last picture on this page is a simple drawing created by charcoal and chalk. It was almost so-called gestural drawing, when you have 2 minutes, even less, to depict the movement on the figure. It was the artist who created his sketches while watching boxers on the ring. And I was on the side, and I grabbed that movement and enjoyed my charcoal and chalk. What do we have on our next page? On our next page, we can see how drawing is used in design. Remember, I told you that in the very beginning, that drawing is used in many, many, many fields of our activities, not only in fine arts. This is Leonardo project of the flying apparat. The flying apparatus was not created, but the drawing is great. And that drawing, again by Leonardo da Vinci, is his idea of how the tank, the war machine, could be created, could be designed, could be looking like. Again, it is not built, but the drawing is stunning. Now I want to show you this picture. It is the poster. We all know that posters are still widely used, even in the age of digital art. In the times when Toulouse-Lautrec, Comte de Toulouse-Lautrec, created that image, that was the thing, to announce the event, to create a good PR for the performance. And Toulouse-Lautrec was a good designer of posters, and at the same time, he was a great drawer. You will see the images that can be easily connected with that one a little bit later. And what else on this page I want us to look at? Everyone knows this chair. We even call it Tonnet chairs. I don't know if you know that Tonnet is the last name of Michael Tonnet, the designer and furniture builder who lived in 18th century and who created, using the newly developed by him and his team, his crew, technology of bending wood, he created the whole new trend of furniture. And here you can see the drawings of all these Tonnet chairs of so many different kinds, all signed and printed, I believe, in 19th century, because Michael Tonnet lived until 1876, if I'm not mistaken. And now we are still using it. But remember that nothing could be created if the idea, if the image, if the drawing wouldn't appear in Michael Tonnet head. These are drawings of his drawings, created by the other artist. But however, the images created by Michael Tonnet was an inspiration for this other artist. It is how art is connected. Everything is connected in art making. Everything is connected in life, that we all know. But the fact that artists influence, inspire other artists and help this way to move the thought, the impulse of art further and further and further, and in different directions, from creating the image on the wall to the creation of the beautiful furniture. All right, let's see what else we have in our intro part. In our intro part, we see that image first. This is one of the oldest writings found in Wadi El Hall. See these images, the pictorial images, not yet letters. And see that red thing? It's just highlighted by those who did the presentation of that piece, because that image is the great grandfather of our alphabet. It is considered as the beginning of creating a letter A in Latin alphabet. I will tell you probably in the next page how it goes that drawing of one kind gives the roots and sprouts into another field. But for now, let us look at this drawing and let us look at this outline can you see the connection between hand holding the quill, or in this case, the stone knife? The quill will be here. See? It's a special pen. Artists who create letters, not always using the quills, but this pen is specially prepared for this kind of work that this artist is making. You see the connection between that proto A through this A and to this image. I wanted to show you that a piece of Chinese, though sometimes we call it painting, but it is not a painting, it is drawing created by brush, by ink and brush. And look at these letters, hieroglyphs, see? This is what's happening when the beginning of time, when this so-called syncretic form of art was recognized as such. And through the development of many, many kinds and sorts of art, now it comes back to the syncretism, actually. I told you that I would show you more of Leonard Baskin, and this is one of his pieces. See the image of the face and the Hebrew letters he wrote. This drawing, remember, Baskin preferred drawings just before many other techniques used in visual art. You see, there are some qualities that suggest that he was using the qualities of ink, running into each other, etc., etc. And he was a good drafter of letters, as you can see. The last piece on this page is created by Jean-Michel Basquiat and his friend in the beginning of their ascent into the fame. Though, again, another example of very short life. Jean-Michel Basquiat lived a very, very short life. And only now, recently, he is getting the real recognition. He had some kind of recognition when Andy Warhol met him and took him into his house, actually. For some time he was his supporter and his friend and helped him a lot. But when that image was created, Andy Warhol was not yet in the picture, and Jean-Michel was roaming around New York, creating different images on the walls and on the paper that he got his hands on. This is one of the famous images, and the letters are also used here. I think that he used here charcoal and probably crayon. Later, he would be using spray paint when he was creating his murals, and just paint, regular oil paint, when he was creating in his studios. We'll see more of his art later in the second part of presentation, because nobody can escape admiring what that young man managed to create during his very, very short life. Now let's go further. All right, early days. We are getting back in time. This piece in Lascaux Cave in France was created 20 millennia ago. Can you believe it? 20 millennia ago, like yesterday, because the image is gorgeous, right? And it answers all the demands of being a good drawing and being a good painting too. But drawing definitely is here. Lines and dots and shading and everything, and animals running somewhere. and they are running into our next page. So in early days, we got into the French cave 20 millennia ago and saw these paintings, these drawings actually. See, I think that this is the proto-letter or something like that. And this image in particular invites us to look at the drawing created by ancient artists and here the definition of syncretic form of communication is very much applicable. That a definition is offered to me by our artist Nikolai Cherny when he was looking at these materials. And it means that the communication which is provided through that drawing, through those drawings, from those who created it to those who perceived it, accepted it. Many things could be communicated through that. Mystical, ritual, the story of what has happened, the call for gathering for a good hunt, the future philosophical explanation of the world. Everything is in this picture. And story says that during the time, the pictures of that kind as means of communication, if we agreed to use the syncretic form of communication applicable to this picture, the pictures got simpler. And though some line, some trend of developing the pictures brings us to creating fine art, as we call it, the other trend, the other direction of the development brings us to that picture, the one that we have already seen in the introduction part of our presentation, picture found in Wadi El Hol. And again, I want to show you that proto-A. And now we can compare this image and this image. Can you see the similarities? See, even the eye you can see here, even the mouth, not to mention horns. This and this. And it all brings us to creating the alphabet, the Latin alphabet that we all know and use. And the alphabets, the art of writing, went on, and different kinds of alphabets were developed by the drawing, because those are drawings created by different tools. This, I think, was just scratched into the wall by this stone knife. Those that you can see on this plate were created, I think, by Stylos, because the upper part is the Mesopotamian alphabet, then Egyptian of different kind, simpler and more complex, and Chinese. Next picture presents us the ancient Egyptian papyrus. Interesting thing in this papyrus that not only drawing presenting the images of illustrating the story, everything is in the picture, the whole list of application of drawing. Illustrations here, writings here. Fine art, if we call beautiful visual image depiction as fine art, is also here. I just want to keep silent for a minute so you can look at it and appreciate it better, as well as you will appreciate very much the little piece of fresco found in the Knossos Palace, example of Minoan art. Sometimes when I look at the images drawn, created in the times like 3 millennia, 4 millennia ago, I think that the time has very strange quality when the highs of the highs are achieved. There is no way to go higher. You can choose the other path and try to get as high as your neighbor or predecessor did, like in this picture. Can it be better? I have doubts. Can this be better? I can doubt, but it can be thus good. It can be of the same goodness as we can see it on this amphora, terracotta amphora created in 519, like a little bit less than 600 BC. And another perfect example of the drawing with the use of the brush, but on the side of the amphora. That is the beauty of drawing. You can draw on everything. You can draw on paper, you can draw on the wall, you can draw on the fabric, you can draw on your own body. Believe it or not, for some years in 80s of 20th century, there was a trend of body art when people, artists, were painting on the bodies of people. If I find the images, I will show you some of it. But now we are going to our next page. Congratulations, we are entering one of the best periods in the history of visual art, to the Renaissance. So many things happened then, and so many things became the foundation, the basis of what would come after that. That's why trying to not overwhelm neither you nor myself called this part Taste of Renaissance. We will not be able to explore even significant part of it, even modest part of the Renaissance art. We will try just to get some taste of it. And as the promotion image for that page, I've chosen two images that Michelangelo created. One is the painting, one of his Sibyllas, and one is the page of drawing and sketches that Michelangelo was creating, getting ready to go and paint. You may know that Michelangelo didn't consider himself as a good painter. One can agree, one can have other opinion. However, he definitely enjoyed sculpting and drawing, and you will see what else he would be creating. He definitely enjoyed it so much. You can see it in this drawing. You can see it in the depiction of the body of that model. You can see it in the depiction of little details, her foot, the little part of her head, something else. Let's go and see what's next. All right. Now we are going into the early times, into the beginning of Renaissance. And we looking at the famous dome in Florence, created by Filippo Brunelleschi. We already had a chance to look at it. I am using one of the images reminding you what we have seen, and I'm using the drawing, the design of the dome, Not only Brunelleschi created it beautifully, but he also designed the way how to make it work, how to make it not to fall on the heads of the builders and attendees of that cathedral. And there is other creation, Filippo Brunelleschi, drawn right here. This is sheer design. It is how designers are thinking. What else we are thanking Brunelleschi for? He is the father of the linear perspective that we all are using since then, when we have to understand how to build the three-dimensional space on the piece of paper, on the two-dimensional plane. Vanishing point, his creation. The way how to build it, his creation. See the lines that allowing us to make it logical. The logic, the intellectual approach that drawing here takes allows us to understand the space we inhabit, to create the system that allows us to build that, to structure that space. There are few ways of depicting and presenting the space on the piece of paper. You can pick up the pencil, the brush, or whatever, and put it on the paper, what you see around you as you feel. Or you can make it this way. When the language that you're using, visual language that you're using, is understood by other people who use the same language. Visual language of building the space, three-dimensional space on two-dimensional plate, is created by this man. This is his portrait. And this is one of the drawings he created. And we are having more of the illustrations for the Divine Comedy created by Sandro Botticelli. Though the images presented here, Sandro Botticelli didn't have a chance to meet Dante Alighieri himself. Sandro lived a little bit later, they didn't meet. But his illustrations, though since then, there were oceans and oceans and oceans of illustrations. But Botticelli's pictures, and these are really pictures drawn by ink and pen, then reproduced. These pictures somehow talk to your heart deeply and somehow connect you with the Dante's ideas of justice and order and love and redemption, but maybe better than anything else. Maybe here just two geniuses met. And the drawing here is so simple and so light. Sometimes you feel that it is even hard to depict the details of it because the paper is so old and yellowed, but nobody dares to do anything with that because it is Botticelli. All right, now we have him, the great Leonardo. And I decided that it does make justice to start from this famous self-portrait of the old man as Leonardo saw himself in his later years. And again, to make justice to the man of greatness, I put here another famous picture created by him. And here you can see again the use of many drawing techniques, line and hatching, and a little bit of shading. And I see, and you can see few little touches of white chalk. Again, the famous man. How can it be presented, Leonardo da Vinci, without showing again his famous man? It doesn't hurt to see it again. It gives you such a satisfaction of perfection of the aim and achievement of the aim and the goal achieved and the beauty of the piece of paper that presents it. Doesn't matter that it is yellowed, doesn't matter that it has spots or whatever. It's Leonardo. So we have him. This is Leonardo's sketches about horses. He loved to make drawings of the horses and sculpting them. And look how it is done. The lines and the shading and the tonal values, everything is in here. This is the design that we have already seen. It feels that one more century and that thing will be put to fly. There will be somebody just for the fun of it, will be willing to make it fly. I don't know. I won't see it, but maybe your grandchildren will. Then they'll let us know about it. Then his drawing of the other machines and his writings and explanations, you will see a lot of those writings accompanying sketching pages of different artists, whatever they create. Sketches for their sculptures, sketches for their designs, sketches for some other very wise ideas. They like to write their thoughts in it. And to my mind, it makes the whole drawing so much alive. And I like to see it. I hope you too. And then you have it. You have the Last Supper here. It's a bad photograph, of course, but it presents it in its place, how it is sitting where it is sitting in the actual place. And those who traveled there could remember how it felt, standing and looking at it in real space. And you see the preliminary sketch created by Leonardo himself. Again, writings, who's whom, how it goes. And you see the similarities. You see how people are inclined here and there, and how he tries it, how he tries that movement and this movement, how he tries this movement and this movement, and another part of the page, he tries some other sketching. So it is a work. It is a work, and the drawings here serve as the tool which artists didn't think would be shown. So the artist felt very free creating whatever he needed to create, especially knowing or feeling that it would be this way, especially knowing what it was explored for. I like us to see it side by side. It gives some food for thought. And of course, just to talk about Leonardo and not to show Mona Lisa, it would be just crime. I didn't want to commit the crime, so I showed you Mona Lisa. But I also showed you some other picture and some other drawing. I can tell you that I see the thread connecting this drawing and that picture, which is called Madonna Lita. I have to tell you that it is a very little painting. I have to tell you that when I was a young girl and was brought to Hermitage because I lived in the city, St. Petersburg, with that famous Hermitage museum there. So I was brought to that picture and I didn't understand anything. What would I understand being a young girl, like less than 10 years? But I remember it all my life as I've seen it then. It is just imprinted in my memory like a stamp. And when I found this drawing, I was very happy that I could show you that beautiful drawing and I can share with you my memories of the eternal beauty created by the artist who depicted that common woman somewhere and turned it into the goddess of art. More of Leonardo. It is never enough, you know. I felt that it is absolutely never enough of the great artist to look at. Here we see his drawings and writings accompanying them while he was doing his study of anatomy. Artists need to know anatomy of the human body or of the body of animal, of the any structure that they are planning to depict. So the drawing here serves as a school. Artist at his school, in his study, creates beautiful drawing. Just by the way, it is a beautiful drawing. See? And this one. I didn't know that drawing. I saw it first time when I was looking for that presentation. I absolutely fell in love with that because, you know, this simplicity is sacred, and this is simple and sacred. This another very famous picture. We all know that shouting man, another drawing, and another head on the side of it. See, he was interested how it would be changing if he drew the face with some expression, with some unusual expression. One thing to make a picture of the beautiful woman, which almost no expression except that light smile, and another to make the picture of the face with the grimace, with wrinkles, with some other folds of the skin and the bones of the big nose and everything. And he's enjoying himself, definitely. And we do too. All right. Another great Michelangelo David. This is how he stands here. And this is how it brought Michelangelo to the creation of his sculpture or of his other sculpture of that kind, because this drawing shows the sculptor how to put his chisel, where to subtract, where to work around, where to polish, and where to leave it rough. Because if Michelangelo one of his youngest sculptures, David was very polished, is very polished and very smooth. His latest sculptures, Pietà Rondanini and another Pietà, also from his latest years, presenting the roughness of the texture, not everywhere, but where it is needed, and the roughness of his thought. And the roughness of his thought you can see in his drawings. Can you see the communication between these two and what this one is saying to you and what this one is saying to you? It is how the visual artist, the great sculptor, thinks. He thinks visually, and the drawing is the way of thinking, of course. And here we go again. Architecture. Architecture. The cathedral and the designs of the cathedral. Michelangelo is called divine draftsman and designer. Yeah, nobody would argue with that. Yep, divine, divine. Like here, see? These are the drawings of that would lead to his famous sculptures Medici, from Medici's. This one. And this is a very interesting page I found because it was the torn piece that had previous drawing of human body part of it, and a human head and another human head. And on the top of it, in the other direction of that drawing, some designs of the architectural nature when the artist was thinking about building the architectural work. Again, the way of thinking is making drawings. And I wanted to see you that there is no much difference between the structure of the building and the structure of the human body. And artist who created that drawing, which is Michelangelo, didn't see much of a difference between structuring and between exploring different structures using the means of drawing, using different kinds of drawings. Here we see almost only lines, a little bit of hatching. Here we see some washes, probably sepia ink. Here we see the whole lot of it, especially because it's all layered. And let's see what we see next page. Yeah, I just wanted to show it to you again. I know that I've shown you this one already, and part of that one already, and part of that one already. But you know what? Looking at the art, the more you look at the great art, the more your soul rejoices, the happier your heart becomes. So I do not hesitate to repeat similar images in one presentation, because here we can mention that when you see them on one page, that one that was done for the piece, that one that was done for this piece, that one when he was thinking about the face of Sibylla, you start up understanding better the visual world that the artist lives in. And drawing is the inviting friendly door in that world. Sometimes sculpture or painting is a little bit more difficult to come through, but the drawing is open. Drawing is saying, come to me. I'm here for you. I will explain you everything you want to know, because artist, when he was doing, or he is doing, his or her drawing, he tries to understand what he or she sees better and to present it for him or herself in clear visual features. And this way it goes to the spectator, to us. Yes, young Raphael, completely different. Imagery is different. The greatness is of the same scale. This is his self-portrait when he was a young man. This is one of his famous pictures. I put it here so you do not have any doubt whom we are talking about Raphael. I think that that one is also one of his famous drawings. It's a sheer drawing. You see how the lines are goes. Raphael is using white touches sometimes more often than other artists, and you will see them here. That one is created for one of his paintings. That one is just a light sketch, you know. The light sketch, kids are playing with each other. Their mother is, it's a gestural drawing. You know that term. Within the course of drawing, if you are taking it, at some point the instructor will invite you to participate in the gestural drawing endeavor, that you have few minutes maximum to make a drawing depicting the major movement of the figure if it is models, or the major change of the setup if it is some kind of a setup like still life or something like that. Here we have the gestural drawing of the model lady with two children, created by great Raphael. I think that this is also a very recognizable drawing because it's reproduced very often. This is less reproduced, Three Gracias, more elaborated with contour or red charcoal or red chalk. It is another medium that you can see you can see in the inscription, in the inscriptions under the reproductions of the old masters, red chalk. That one, I wanted to use that one just because, well, just because it is a very good drawing, first thing, and second thing, because it was, I think, another first image of Renaissance that me, when I was a little girl, saw on the cover of the book on drawing that was given me as a gift when I started my studying in art. So Madonna Lita by Leonardo in Hermitage, and the book of Renaissance drawing with that picture by Raphael on the cover that was the flags under which my young study took place. His famous school of Athens. And the drawings to it almost tortures and so expressive. It's like a theater. It is like a theater. This picture, by the way, is famous by the three, I think, horizons that Raphael was using when he was building that picture. Of course, everyone was using Brunelleschi's linear perspective, adjusting it a little bit to their own needs. So when we are looking at this picture, we are not even thinking about three vanishing points or three horizons or whatever horizons. We are just enjoying the philosophy of it, the visual philosophy of it, as Leonardo mentioned. the information, the visual information is so overwhelming. And the visual information here is so pleasurable. I just wanted to bring it to you, no matter that it is stained again, that it's probably torn on the edges of it. But you look at it and you feel that you can spend good quality time looking at this particular picture, not only on the finished, polished piece, but on this one. And Albrecht Dürer. You will see that I will repeat these images on the next page, but I wanted, again, it's Renaissance, but from the other side of the continent of Europe, Germany, Austria, etc. Though Dürer was one of the first artists from that part of Europe who went to Italy, who studied, who depicted their approaches, and who brought it back home. I placed here his famous portrait, that's the painting, and I put on the same page his self-portrait when he was a young man, the boy, 14 or 16 years old, I think. Here he was a little bit older. His interest in studying how the hand is working, how it is depicted. See, on this particular drawing, you can see that one part of the page is dedicated to the head. Another part of the page, Dürer is studying the hand. Of course, they are not connected physically, but they are not. But they are presented artistically convincing on one page. And the folds of the pillow. See? Casting shades, another shades, folds, lines, shading, everything is here. And here we are, the same two pictures that we have seen over there. Young Dürer, a little bit older Dürer, the hands, the praying hands. Believe it or not, it is a drawing. It is not etching, though he didn't do etching, because etching would come much later in his very, very last years. He did engraving, a lot of engravings, and we had the chance to look at them in our previous presentation. But here we have a drawing. See this white thing? These are this white painted lighties on the light parts of the hand and on the book. Another study, another drawing with the use of some hatching and whiting and linear a little bit. Another study, hands again. That is an amazing drawing. That is an amazing drawing with such a mood presented in such a simple, I shouldn't say that. What is so simple here? You go and make it because, you know, again, the simplicity is sacred. How would you do it if you're not mastering your tool? And he is a master of his tool, of course. Brownishing. Another much more elaborated drawing, more detailed, featuring everything from hat to folds of the clothing and beard and hair and everything. And here is one of his most famous pieces here. It is watercolor, drawing and watercolor. But you know, only recently, watercolor was, people started placing watercolor under the list of paintings, under the list of painting as a medium. Before that, watercolor was considered drawing. So just I decided to have that piece on the page. First, because you will enjoy it. Secondly, because you would recognize who did it. And third, because it makes a nice connection to the other animal drawings created by Dürer. Lions and dog, and I know who is that. I'm not sure that he knows who is that. And I cannot read what is written here. See, again, he is writing, artist writing something on the side of his painting, on the side of his drawing, because he finds that he needs it for whatever reason, to remember something, to say something to the one person or to those people who would be looking at it. I don't know. But it is placed here with the great composition of the whole page. So we can just enjoy the great balance of the piece of drawing. And these are pillows. You see how seriously this artist takes the folds of textile, the folds of fabric. And though it may sound strange, but this artist doesn't see much difference between the matter that presents itself as a pillow and the matter which presents itself as a human body. All the same, the matter, as it was said in one of definitions in Platonic scale, permanent, invariable qualities of matter, volume, form, and hidden order. What is so attractive and appealing to the intellect in the medium of drawing. Another piece created by Dürer. And here he's using much more of the white touches when he needs to highlight the light parts of his drawing. So, angel playing the lute. And here we come to Titian, great Venetian. You understand right away that the artists who belong to that school, Venetian art, they are approaching their creations differently. And you can see it by their drawings. Their drawings are much freer. The lines are flying here and there. The hatching, working almost like paint. This one just the boiling matter. Of course, it presents the human figures, the crowd who is moving somewhere, somebody's crawling, somebody's kneeling, and it's very dynamic. But just step back for a little bit, one step, and forget for a second that you want to see exactly human figures there. This is the matter, the substance that this artist is depicting in his drawing, and it works so well. As well as here, that is a preliminary drawing to his painting. And yes, horses, they love horses, all these artists. Please pay attention at this grid. See? crossing lines. It is what they used when they needed to move the sketch onto the canvas so they could paint it. That one is just one of the iconic paintings by Titian, so we can recognize whom we are dealing with. And looking at this little sketch, you can see that Titian's comment on how to present human body can be recognized here and here as well. And let's look what we have next. Next, we have two heads created by Tintoretto, Jacopo Tintoretto. Why I put these two heads on the page without any other images? Because I wanted us to look without being rushed on not only what it is presenting, but how it is done. We are not taking the course of drawing. We are enjoying looking at the drawings created by other artists. So we can appreciate and enjoy every single line Tintoretto has created. He's very expressive. Even in the drawing of this kind, his feeling, his perception of the matter, of the substance that he's dealing with as a draftsman, as an artist, is completely different from the ones that we had before. I'll just jump back for a couple of pages and then I'll be back, I promise. See the difference? Dürer's depiction of the head, calm, thorough, academically, how it is said there, academic practice, yeah? And this one, it just cries, not cries. The song is very loud, it is what I would say. This song is very loud. Everything is in here, black and gray and white and everything, and dynamic of the form, and the angle of looking at it, a mastership and control of the shading and the lining, and knowing the anatomy. You see how he put the eyeball here with this angle of the skull. This is the trick when draftsmen, when artists draw something, preferably he or she or them know what is under this surface. And Jacopo Tintoretto knows that. Here we are. The artman, the backs of the man, you see, he treated the materia, the matter, in a very expressive way. This is the dawn of Baroque, a more expressive form of art. I wanted us to look at these two pictures, not only because they are good pictures and they are good drawings, and the brushes used here, not the pen or the chalk or the pen or the crayon, but brush. And this one, that is the pen, I think. Both have grids. It means that, and this one as well, by the way, the archer. It is because the artist wanted to move them onto the space that he was planning to use it for the project that he was envisioned. Maybe painting, maybe another drawing, maybe something else we don't know yet. Yeah, this is Tintoretto painting. You see where it goes, where it brings us, to the expressiveness of the painting, to the highly expressive painting. Expressive drawing brings us to the expressive painting. Guess what is there on the side? El Greco pieces, two El Greco pieces, just to compare them. Can you see the relationship, how the visual, how the thought that implemented into creating visual images, how it moves through the time into the more expressive, more intense, more aggressive way of the use of visual images, I dare say. Let's see the next page. The next page are the drawings by El Greco. There is no precision that we could see in previous Raphael's paintings. The beauty of this drawing is its expressiveness. People love El Greco. Contemporary people love El Greco because of his passion, passionate expressiveness. And this passion is so bare in his drawings. He is so open when he creates these drawings because it is like notebook for himself. And in his notebook, he is open. The drawing, again, is the open book, more open, more inviting, maybe more naive than the painting. Just the kitchen, the cookery of the future great feast. And there we are. Now, where is my, here we are. This is the final page of our presentation today. I plan to continue and to create the second part, at least one more part of presentation. We decided that I would make up some pages informing you what's coming, what would be the next portion of our presentation. Here it's what to come. That was Scene. That's Brunelleschi, created in 14th century. That is the piece created by famous Escher in 20th century. Brunelleschi was an architect and a draftsman. Escher was not an architect, but he loved to play with architectural images, twisting and turning them absurdly a little bit, and was famous for that and good in doing that. And here we have the architectural drawings, three of them, created by contemporary great architect Zaha Hadid. And these drawings are done in our 21st century. For the buildings already built, I will show it to you in our next part. I just thought that putting them together to give you the line, how we're moving and how we are still connected by the means and the tools and the ways of thinking through drawing. And the font for the writing that I've chosen to this page, to my mind, is drawn the way, because each font is drawn by the artist with the use of the means of drawing. It does relate to these three pictures. So, to be continued. Thank you, and I will see you again soon.